All right, ready to dive deep. Today we're taking on the Shiva Purana.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Always up for a good deep dive.
we've got excerpts from this incredible text,
Yeah.
and it's wild.
It's intense.
Curses, boons. I mean, you've got creation myths in here,
Totally.
and
Wild rituals.
rituals that are going to make you rethink
Yeah.
how you start your day, basically.
I know, right? It's like this text takes you on a trip from, like, the grand scheme of the cosmos right down to your daily life.
It's true. It's true. So, okay, Shiva Purana. You know, we always start with the basics here.
Yeah.
It's all about Shiva, right?
Right.
But like,
Of course. Yeah. I mean, the name is a bit of a giveaway.
yeah, well, you know, I gotta ask for the listeners.
Right.
But like, how big of a deal is this text in the grand scheme of Hinduism?
Oh, it's huge. Like, foundational. Think of it as one of the big 18, the Puranas. Those are the main pillars of Hindu sacred literature. And each one is dedicated to revealing divine truths and offering, like, a guide for living.
So like a roadmap to the cosmos.
Exactly. And this one, the Shiva Purana, well, obviously it zeroes in on Shiva. It shows off all his different sides: creator, destroyer, the ultimate source of all that cosmic energy.
Okay, so the source material mentions that the Shiva Purana, it went through a major downsize at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Like a serious condensation.
You have no idea. We're talking about a book that originally had 1 billion verses.
Wait, 1 billion?
1 billion, and then got squeezed down to a measly 24,000.
Oh, wow.
All thanks to the sage, Vyasa.
Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. This Vyasa guy seems to have his hands in a lot of ancient Hindu literature.
Yeah, he was like the ultimate editor. He shaped so much of what we read today.
Okay, so back to this condensing thing. From 1 billion to 24,000 verses. Did they just, like, decide some parts weren't as important?
It's not about tossing out the unimportant bits. Think of it like brewing a super potent tea.
Okay, I like that analogy.
You're taking all that essence and concentrating it. That's what Vyasa did. He streamlined this, like, mega text into 7 core sections.
Those are the Samhitas, right?
You got it. Each Samhita is like a different lens to view Shiva and the universe.
And our source material actually lists them out. Let's see, we've got Vidishvara, Rudra, Vayaviya, Kotirudra, Uma, Kailasha, and Vayu.
Each one with its own specific number of verses.
It's like they had a system, you know?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder why Vyasa chose these specific groupings. What kind of structure was he going for?
It's a great question. It shows that even back then, they understood how to organize information to make it really hit home. Vyasa basically created a framework for exploring Shiva.
So he was an early information architect.
Totally. And remember, this was way before the printing press. These texts were shared orally, memorized, recited. Having a clear structure was vital for passing down that wisdom through the generations.
It's true. So it wasn't just about memorizing words. It was about understanding the underlying framework. Speaking of wisdom, one thing that really tops out from the Shiva Purana is this concept of curses and boons.
Oh, yeah. That's classic Shiva, right? Bestowing boons, dishing out curses.
I mean, did someone forget to send him a thank you note or something?
It's not really about Shiva being easily offended. Think of it more like cosmic cause and effect.
It's like karma.
Exactly. Karma and dharma, the consequences of actions and the path of righteousness all playing out on a cosmic scale.
So it's more like a cosmic justice system than a divine temper tantrum.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like, take the story of Brahma, the god of creation. He gets hit with a curse for being deceitful.
Ouch.
It's a big reminder that even gods aren't above the law of karma. But then you've got the story of the Ketaki flower. Starts as a curse, but then flips into a boon, making it sacred to Shiva.
Interesting. So even in a curse, there can be a hidden blessing.
That's the idea. It suggests that even those negative experiences can lead to something positive, especially when you're looking at it through the lens of spiritual growth, Maybe that Ketaki flower wouldn't be so revered if it hadn't been for that initial curse.
Yeah, that's deep. It makes you wonder about how challenges can sometimes lead to unexpected blessings. But let's switch gears a bit. The Shiva Purana isn't all just stories, right? It also gets into specific rituals and practices for connecting with the divine.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's like a spiritual toolkit.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, one practice that really stands out is mantra chanting, especially the Soham mantra. I am that.
I've always been fascinated by mantras. They're like sonic vibrations that tune you into a different frequency. What's so special about Soham?
It's a powerful statement. It's affirming the unity between your individual soul and the ultimate reality, that's bigger than all of us.
Whoa. Okay, so it's not just chanting sounds. It's like tapping into a deeper truth.
Exactly. And the text even lays out different benefits depending on how many times you repeat it. There's this idea of lokadan, giving to the world through the power of chanting.
Wait, hold on. So, like, the number of times you chant a mantra can actually benefit the world.
That's the idea. It emphasizes that our actions, even something as simple as chanting, have a ripple effect. We're all interconnected. Our spiritual practices can actually contribute to the well-being of everyone.
Okay, I'm suddenly very conscious of my repetition count.
It's like a spiritual butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Small actions can create these waves of positive energy.
I love that. So it's not just about our personal practice, it's about contributing to something much larger.
Right. And speaking of connecting with the divine, the Shiva Purana also talks about the creation of Shiva lingas.
Shiva lingas. Okay, I've got to admit, I'm a little fuzzy on what those actually are.
No worries, it's a common question.
I mean, I've seen them, but...
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, a Shiva linga is an abstract representation of Shiva.
Okay.
It symbolizes his formless, infinite nature.
Like a symbol of the essence of Shiva.
Exactly. It's a focal point for meditation, for worship, a way to connect with Shiva beyond any specific image.
And the source material mentions using different colored clay to create them. Is that important?
Oh, absolutely. Each color has a specific symbolic meaning.
Oh, interesting.
It adds another layer to the practice.
But like a white Shiva linga means something different than a red one.
Exactly. For example, white represents purity, while red symbolizes passion and energy.
It's like choosing a color palette to evoke a specific energy during your practice.
Right. It's a beautiful example of how even the simplest materials can be packed with meaning. The text also details how to ritually worship the Shiva linga, including using panchamrita, a mix of 5 nectars.
Milk, yogurt, ghee, honey, and sugar. That sounds more like a delicious dessert than a ritual offering.
Well, it's about engaging all the senses, creating a richer experience of devotion. The sweetness of the offering, the aroma, the visual beauty of the Shiva linga, it all works together to create a more immersive connection with the divine.
It's like that saying, God is in the details. Even the small elements of a ritual have intention and meaning.
And that intention is key. What the text calls bhavana, it's not just going through the motions, it's bringing your full heart and mind into the practice.
So the inner attitude is as important as the outward actions.
Absolutely. And this applies to all of life, not just rituals. It's about aligning everything, your thoughts, words, and actions, with your spiritual aspirations.
It's like a constant state of mindfulness, bringing that intentionality to everything we do.
That's it.
But let's zoom out for a second. Does the Shiva Purana have its own unique creation myth?
Oh, you know it does. What's a good Purana without a grand origin story? The Shiva Purana describes the universe's beginning as this massive, endless expanse of water.
Okay, I'm picturing a cosmic ocean. So where does Shiva fit in?
Shiva is the source, the primordial energy that everything comes from. Picture this. From these cosmic waters, Vishnu emerges, coming from Shiva.
Okay, following.
And then, get this, Brahma, the creator god, is born from a lotus that blooms from Vishnu's navel.
Whoa, that's a divine family tree if I've ever heard one. So it's like a cosmic chain reaction with Shiva as the initial spark.
Exactly. And this creation myth doesn't stop there. It goes on to describe the 24 tattvas, the fundamental elements that make up everything.
24 tattvas? That's a lot to unpack. What are they exactly?
Think of them as the building blocks of reality, the blueprints for everything we experience. They include the 5 basic elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and they go all the way to more abstract concepts like time, space, and consciousness.
So it's not just about gods and goddesses, it's about understanding the fabric of existence.
You got it. The Shiva Purana blends mythology, philosophy, and cosmology into one grand story.
It's amazing how these ancient texts blur the lines between what we consider science and spirituality. Back then, it was all part of a unified understanding of the universe.
Right. And these tattvas actually play out in our own lives. For instance, the tattva of manas, the mind, highlights the power of our thoughts in shaping reality. And the tattva of buddhi, intellect, emphasizes the importance of separating true wisdom from just information.
So they're not just abstract concepts, they're forces that are active within us, impacting our thoughts, emotions, actions. It's like the Shiva Purana gives us a map of our inner landscape and helps us navigate through different levels of consciousness.
You got it. It's all about aligning our energy centers, balancing our inner world, and leading a more harmonious and fulfilling life.
That's a great point. I love how the Shiva Purana is filled with these captivating stories that illuminate the nature of reality. I think it's time for some cosmic storytelling, don't you?
I'm ready. Let's dive into that world where deities and demons clash, and the lines between human and divine get all blurry.
Let's do it.
Remember Brahma being born from that cosmic lotus?
Yeah, quite an entrance.
Well, his story gets even more interesting. The Shiva Purana talks about this time when Daksha Brahma's son, mind you, totally disrespects Shiva.
Uh-oh. Family drama on a cosmic scale.
You could say that. And get this, it ultimately leads to Sati, Shiva's wife, committing self-immolation.
Wow, self-immolation. That's intense. What could have led to something that drastic?
Daksha let his ego get the better of him. He just didn't understand Shiva's true nature.
So it's like a cosmic cautionary tale about the dangers of arrogance.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even gods aren't immune to those human flaws, and the consequences can be pretty severe.
Yeah, it shows that even in these myths, we see reflections of ourselves, those human struggles playing out on a grand stage.
Totally. But this tragedy also sets the stage for the birth of Parvati, Sati's reincarnation.
So even in loss, there's a cycle of renewal.
Right. Parvati, who's destined to become Shiva's consort again, represents that enduring power of love and devotion.
It's like a reminder that even in the face of hardship, love finds a way.
Exactly. And their love story goes beyond just romance. It actually plays a major role in shaping those cosmic events.
Oh, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, the Shiva Purana tells the stories of their sons, Kartikeya and Ganesha, who are both powerful deities in their own right.
Okay, so love, loss, and a family of powerful deities. This is getting good.
Kartikeya, who is born from Shiva's seed, is destined to defeat this demon called Tarakasura, a real threat to the cosmic order.
It's like a cosmic family affair, battling evil forces and keeping the universe in check.
You could say that. And then you've got the story of Ganesha, who gets beheaded by Shiva, but then is brought back to life with the head of an elephant.
I've always loved that story. On the surface, it seems pretty shocking, but I'm guessing there's a deeper meaning there.
Oh, absolutely. These myths aren't just fun stories, they're packed with wisdom. They teach us about sacrifice, transformation, and how the divine works in unexpected ways.
So Ganesha losing his original head and gaining an elephant head, it's like a metaphor for something bigger.
Right. It's often seen as a metaphor for transcending the ego.
So by losing his head, Ganesha gains a new perspective.
Exactly. It's about letting go of that limited sense of self to embrace greater wisdom.
I love that. And it also emphasizes devotion and humility, right? Even Ganesha, this powerful deity, submits to the will of Shiva, his father.
Absolutely. It's a powerful message about surrender and trust in the divine plan.
It seems like the Shiva Purana is full of these little details that just spark deeper reflection. What other hidden gems did you find in the source material?
Well, one that I found really fascinating is the story of how Vishnu got the name Narayana.
Oh, yeah. Names in Hindu mythology always seem to have such deep meaning. What's the connection there?
The name Narayana literally means he who dwells in the waters.
Okay.
It's a reference to the primordial waters, Nara, where creation began. And since Vishnu is said to have emerged from those waters, he became known as Narayana.
So his name reflects his cosmic origin story. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Right. And then there's this whole concept of Shiva as the ultimate reality, encompassing both Saguna and Nirguna aspects.
Okay. Saguna and Nirguna, those sound a little heady. Can you break those down for us?
Sure. Think of Saguna as Shiva with form, attributes, qualities we can understand and connect with.
Right.
Like Shiva as the cosmic dancer, the destroyer, the benevolent protector. Those are all Saguna aspects.
So like the Shiva we see in images and sculptures.
Exactly. But Nirguna represents Shiva's formless, transcendent nature. It's the ultimate reality that's beyond all names and forms.
So it's like Shiva is both the wave and the ocean, the specific forms and the boundless source they come from.
That's a great way to put it. It highlights how the divine can be both immanent and transcendent at the same time.
And the source material also mentions this intriguing detail about Mount Kailash, Shiva's abode, and Vaikuntha, Vishnu's abode, being eternal.
Yeah, even when the universe goes through dissolution, even when everything else is destroyed, these realms remain.
So it's like saying that amidst all the chaos and change, there are these realms of existence that are unchanging.
Exactly. They symbolize those eternal spiritual realities that are beyond the cycles of time and space.
It's a reminder that there's more to reality than what we see and experience with our senses. There's a deeper, more subtle dimension that's always present.
And the Shiva Purana gives us glimpses into that dimension through its symbolism. For example, the snake around Shiva's neck.
Oh, right. What does that symbolize again?
It represents the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth. The snake sheds its skin, just like we shed our old selves, and embrace transformation.
It's a perfect symbol for that continuous process of renewal.
And the tiger skin that Shiva wears symbolizes his mastery over primal instincts.
So we have to tame our inner tiger to awaken our spiritual potential.
Exactly. And then there's the concept of the 6 chakras in the body.
Chakras. I've heard of them, but I'm not sure I fully understand.
Think of them as these swirling vortexes of energy, each associated with a different aspect of our being, from our basic instincts to our spiritual aspirations.
Oh, interesting.
The Shiva Purana uses those chakras as a framework for understanding spiritual awakening.
So it's like a map of our inner landscape, guiding us as we move from our desires to a higher state of consciousness.
Precisely. It reminds us that true transformation happens internally. It's about aligning those energy centers, bringing balance to our inner world to live a more harmonious life.
That's a great reminder. This whole deep dive into the Shiva Purana is really making me rethink what spirituality is all about. It's not just about rituals and beliefs. It's about exploring reality, the forces that shape our lives, both internally and externally.
It's a holistic view. And it's not just about abstract concepts either. It offers practical guidance through its stories, rituals, and symbolism.
So it's a living tradition that's still relevant today.
Absolutely. It provides tools and techniques to apply this ancient wisdom to our modern lives.
Speaking of practical application, I'm curious about the role of ritual in the Shiva Purana. We talked about Shiva Lingas, but what other rituals are there?
One that stands out is yajna, a fire ritual where offerings are made to the deities.
Fire rituals, there's something so primal and powerful about them.
Right. The fire symbolizes the purifying power of the divine, consuming everything that's offered, physically and symbolically. It's a way of letting go of negativity and making space for new possibilities.
Like surrendering our old patterns, our limiting beliefs, to that fire of transformation.
Exactly. And these rituals aren't just about personal transformation. They're also about benefiting the whole community and keeping the cosmos in harmony.
So it connects us to something larger than ourselves.
It does. And the Shiva Purana highlights that interconnectedness through its stories. We've talked about Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, but there's a whole cast of characters, both divine and demonic, all woven into this cosmic drama.
More divine gossip. What other stories stand out?
One that I love is the story of how Shiva got the name Neelkanth, which means blue-throated.
Neelkanth, the blue-throated one. I've heard that name before, but I don't know the story behind it.
Oh, it's a good one. It's about sacrifice and compassion. During the churning of the cosmic ocean, this deadly poison emerged, threatening to destroy everything. To save the world, Shiva swallows the poison, holding it in his throat.
So he sacrifices himself to save the world.
Yeah, it's a powerful image. His throat turns blue from the poison, and that's how he gets the name Neelkanth.
Wow, that's a strong visual.
It's a reminder that true strength often comes from selflessness, from having the courage to face darkness head-on.
It's not about avoiding the tough stuff. It's about facing it with compassion and transforming it.
Exactly. And this act of self-sacrifice becomes part of Shiva's identity. His name forever reflects this deed.
That's beautiful. So does the Shiva Purana say anything about the end of the universe? I mean, it's hard to even imagine.
It does. It describes how Shiva, as the destroyer, eventually dissolves the universe, bringing everything to an end.
That sounds a bit terrifying. Is it like a final curtain call, a total annihilation?
It might seem that way, but it's important to remember that in Hindu cosmology, destruction isn't the absolute end.
Okay.
It's simply part of a cycle: creation, preservation, and dissolution.
It's not a full stop, but more like a pause before a new beginning.
Precisely. After a period of dissolution, the universe is reborn anew, and that eternal dance of existence continues.
It's a reminder that change is inevitable, that even in destruction there's a seed of renewal. It's a message of hope and resilience, especially in the face of impermanence. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I've got one more question. Does the Shiva Purana have any advice for those of us who might not be perfect in our spiritual practice?
You mean those of us who aren't exactly saints?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Life gets busy, and we all make mistakes.
Well, the Shiva Purana is pretty realistic about human nature.
That's good to know.
It acknowledges that we all stumble,
Yeah.
that the path to spiritual liberation isn't always a straight line.
So it's not about being perfect, but about progress.
Exactly. The Shiva Purana emphasizes sincere devotion, continually striving to align our thoughts, words, and actions with our spiritual aspirations.
So we're going to mess up sometimes, but it's about getting back up and continuing on the path.
It's about that continuous effort. And the Shiva Purana reminds us that even small acts of devotion can have a big impact.
Like what? What are some small steps we can take to nurture that connection?
Simple things like chanting a mantra, offering a prayer, or even just doing something kind for someone else.
So it's not about those grand gestures, it's about weaving those little threads of intention and awareness into our everyday lives.
You got it. And that's the beauty of it. Spirituality doesn't require renouncing the world and living in a cave. It's about bringing your spiritual aspirations into your daily life, finding those moments of sacredness in the ordinary.
It's about recognizing that spirituality isn't separate from life, it's an essential part of it.
And the Shiva Purana offers a guide for that integration, showing us how to live in the world but not be consumed by it.
I love that. It's a reminder that our spiritual journey isn't limited to temples or ashrams. It unfolds in our homes, in our relationships, in the choices we make every day.
It's about finding that divine spark within and letting it illuminate every aspect of our lives.
And the Shiva Purana reminds us that this divine spark is present in everyone, connecting us to each other and to that ultimate source of creation.
It's a beautiful message of unity and interconnectedness, especially in a world that often feels divided and fragmented.
It's a powerful reminder that we are all part of something much bigger than ourselves, and even in the face of challenges, we're not alone.
Exactly. It's a message of hope, resilience, and that deep interconnectedness that I think we all need to hear. The Shiva Purana offers this timeless wisdom that speaks to our deepest human longings, the longing for meaning, connection, and transcendence.
It reminds us that even amid the chaos of life, there's a deeper order at play, a divine dance that connects us all.
And by tuning in to that dance, aligning ourselves with those cosmic rhythms, we can experience peace, purpose, and belonging that goes beyond the limitations of our individual lives.
It's a beautiful vision of a world where spirituality is more than just a set of beliefs or practices. It's a way of life, a way of seeing the interconnectedness of everything.
And the Shiva Purana shows us that this vision isn't just a far-off dream. It's a reality that we can create moment by moment through our choices, our actions, and our commitment to living a life aligned with our highest aspirations.
So we've been through the ins and outs of the Shiva Purana.
Yeah.
All those captivating stories, those deep philosophical concepts.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. And as we wrap up, I'm thinking, what's the takeaway for our listeners?
Right. How do you take these ancient teachings and actually apply them to your life? Well, I think what really shines through in the Shiva Purana is this multifaceted perspective on life, on the universe, on what the divine actually is. It's not just about those amazing myths. It's like a guidebook for living a life with meaning and purpose.
So less of a dusty old scripture and more like a practical manual for navigating, all the ups and downs of being human.
I like that. Yeah, it gives you this framework, a way to understand where we fit in the cosmos, how our actions have consequences, that whole karma thing. And ultimately, it points you towards the goal of spiritual liberation.
So when we talk about liberation in the Shiva Purana, what are we really talking about?
In Hinduism, it's called moksha, freedom from that cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, what they call samsara.
Okay.
And the Shiva Purana teaches that through devotion to Shiva, living righteously, following your dharma and cultivating spiritual wisdom, we can break free from that cycle and achieve moksha.
So it's not just about getting to heaven or racking up good karma points.
It's way deeper than that. Moksha isn't about some specific destination or reward. It's about transcending the ego, merging with that infinite consciousness that's everywhere.
Whoa. Okay, so I'm picturing a drop of water falling back into the ocean.
Exactly. That feeling of boundless unity, that's what it's about.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
But how do we actually apply these super profound teachings to everyday life? I mean, most of us aren't meditating on a mountaintop all day.
Right. And the Shiva Purana doesn't expect us to become hermits. It offers this path that's practical and it's deep. It stresses self-awareness, ethical conduct, living in alignment with Dharma, those devotional practices that connect us to the divine.
So it's about weaving those principles into daily life, not running away from the world.
Exactly. It's about making sure your thoughts, your words, even your actions line up with your highest values. Every interaction, every choice we make, It's an opportunity to express our dharma, to live with purpose.
So it's not just about what we do, it's the why behind it.
Right, that intention. And the Shiva Purana makes it clear we have the power to shape our own destiny. Through the choices we make, the thoughts we cultivate, the actions we take, it's not about giving in to fate. It's about actively participating in our evolution.
That's powerful stuff.
We're not just along for the ride, we're co-creating our reality.
This whole deep dive has been amazing, exploring the Shiva Purana, finding that wisdom that's still relevant today. But as we wrap up, is there one last question, something thought-provoking, that we can leave our listeners with?
We've seen how the Shiva Purana shows us Shiva in this complex way. Destroyer, creator, source of both curses and blessings. He's a walking paradox. So how does that understanding, this deity who embraces those contradictions, how does it change how we view the divine? Can the divine even be categorized or defined in human terms?
That's a great question. It reminds us to look beyond those limited perspectives, to embrace the mystery at the heart of spiritual experience.
That's it. The Shiva Purana is a reminder that the spiritual path isn't about getting easy answers. It's about embracing those questions, the paradoxes, the things we don't know. It's in that space, that uncertainty, that wonder that we discover the deepest truths.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for guiding us through this incredible deep dive into the Shiva Purana. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep uncovering those layers of wisdom woven into this timeless text.